recording,
Okay.
and then you just hit that, and that will pause it,
Okay.
which, at least I think.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our first flip lesson. In this photo here, here's our family dog, Brady Bunch Snyder. As you can see, he's curled up on his pillow, and that is his Betty Bite, as we call it at home. You will probably have heard me talk about Brady in class, and here is Brady curled up on his pillow. In this lesson, we are going to be talking about solving equations. So I need you to take out the handout from class for our listen, write notes. Please follow along with your note sheet and record the items that you see me putting on our note sheet. All right, so at the top you can see we have, oops, I put a stray mark, got to get rid of that. You can see that we have helpful hints for solving one-step equations. So in our one-step equations, we are just going to have one operation to deal with, either addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. And the idea is to use the inverse to undo the operation. I hope that you can read my writing as I put items on here. So we're going to be using the inverse to undo the operation. And the next important thing to remember in solving an equation is that we need to maintain equality. And I will be showing you how we maintain equality as we go through and solve equations. So now if you look at the first example on 1A, it says x plus 2 equals 7. And we need to figure out that mystery number for x. Now, being good mental math students as we are, we probably have already figured out what the value of x is. But the purpose of this lesson is to understand how to use the inverse to undo and to maintain equality when we are solving an equation. All right, so since the operation is addition, we need to use subtraction to undo that addition. So we are going to subtract 2 from each side. And doing that on both sides of the equal sign will maintain equality. Now we learned earlier in the year that a positive 2 and a negative 2 would cancel each other out. So I'm going to draw a line through that showing that they cancel out, and then that just leaves us x right there. On the other side of the equal sign is the problem 7 minus 2. So we all should know that 7 minus 2 equals 5, and you probably already figured out that that was the answer. Now, it's always important to check your solutions when solving an equation, so you should never have to ask Mrs. Snyder if your solution is correct. So what we do is we put the x equals 5 back into the equation. So now it's going to look like 5 plus 2 equals 7. And then we solve the left-hand side here. We do that addition, and we ask ourselves 5 plus 2, well, it is 7. So then we verify that 7 equals 7. Our solution checks for our equation. So now what I would like you to do is I would like you to pause the video, and then over to the right you'll see number 1B, which is similar to number 1A that I just modeled for you. And I would like you to take the time to solve x plus 6 equals 9 and to check your solution. All right, now we're going to look at example number 2A that says y minus 3 equals negative 8. So the operation to use the inverse for and undo is subtraction. Well, the inverse of subtraction, or the opposite, is addition. So we are going to add 3 to both sides. All right, and the first add 3 looks like a blob. I am sorry. I will erase that and try to make that clearer for you. Plus 3. That looks a little bit better. So now, from the minus 3 and the plus 3, those are opposites, so they are going to cancel each other out, and that means we are just left with y. Over on the other side, to the right of the equal sign, we have the addition problem, negative 8 plus 3. So thinking back to accentuate the negative, a negative 8 plus 3 is going to be negative 5. If you think about being at negative 8 on the number line and then move up 3 spaces, you'll be at negative 5. So now we need to check the solution. So we're going to put negative 5 in for y. So now our equation looks like negative 5 minus 3 equals negative 8. So now we need to solve negative 5 minus 3. Two ways to think about that. think about being at -5 and moving backwards 3 spaces. You're going to be at -8. Another way to think about that is if we swipe, ooh, that was a big blob. I am sorry. Let's go back. If I was trying to use a different color, so I will click on a different color, plus -3. And when we do that, we can see that -5 plus -3 equals -8. So -8 equals -8. Check. Our solution is correct. So now once again, pause the video and then try number 2B, y minus 6 equals -8 on your own. All right, now on to example 3A. This is a multiplication example. It is saying 7 times x equals -63. So to undo, or the inverse of multiplication is division. Inverse, remember, means opposite, so the opposite of multiplying is dividing. Now, we are going to use the fraction bar for division instead of the line with 2 dots now. Okay, so we are not going to use that symbol in solving our equations. We're going to use the fraction bar because it's cleaner, it's easier to see, and it's more efficient. So the opposite of multiplying an x by 7 would be to divide by 7. So we divide the left side by 7. We divide the right side, oops, I don't know what happened there, by 7. All right, now over on the left we've got 7 divided by 7. That equals 1, and they cancel out. So I put a big line through there, and there's my big 1, and that is saying that I just have x, or just 1x. Then it's -63 divided by 7. Now remember, a negative divided by a positive is going to be a negative answer, and my solution should be -9. Now to check the solution, putting -9 in for x, we have 7 times -9, and we want to make sure that equals -63. So 7 times a -9 means my answer is negative, and then 7 times 9 is 63, and my solution checks. So now pause your video and you solve number 3B, the multiplication example there in 3B. All right, we are to our last example, number 4A, and it is an example with division. It is saying a divided by -2 equals 24. Well, to undo that division, the inverse of division is multiplication, meaning the opposite of division is multiplication. So if we are dividing a by -2, we need to multiply each side by -2. So I'm going to put my times symbol. I'm trying to make a dot here and it's not working. So there we go. So there's my times symbol, -2. And then over here on the left, trying to get that little purple dot there and make it bigger. Okay, well we normally don't use the X symbol for multiplication when we're solving an equation, but I can't get that dot to be any bigger here. So that means to multiply. So -2 times a over -2. Now the two -2's we've talked about, those two negatives will cancel each other out, and you can cross those out so they are out of the picture. So now we have a equals, and then we have to solve 24 times -2, which is going to be -48. So now to check our solution, we put -48 in for a, and that is saying -48 divided by -2, and we want to make sure that that equals 24. So as you look at the division problem on the left, the two negatives are going to cancel each other out because dividing two negatives makes a positive, and 2 will go into 48 24 times. So our solution does check. So pause the video one last time and solve number 4B, and then please bring this paper into class tomorrow, and we will be doing a pairs activity to practice solving one-step equations. I hope you enjoyed our first flipped lesson. See you tomorrow.